complete, mixed-use, walkable neighborhoods work better from just about every way you can look at it.
20 years is how long you'd have to use that artificial tree to outweigh buying a natural one.
We see a lot of packaging and a lot of materials that are obviously left over from the Christmas.
Hi, and welcome to the Sustainable Region. I'm Dagmar Timmer.
And I'm Vanessa Timmer. Well, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
And today we're going to take a look at the connection between the holidays and garbage.
The holiday season in Metro Vancouver is a long one, starting with Diwali in October, through Christmas, to the Chinese New Year in January.
And it can be a season of excess, with a lot of that excess ending up in our landfills.
So today we'll celebrate the best of the Christmas season and explore some of the not so great aspects as well.
Starting with this clip from one of Santa's insiders who has decided that it's time to speak out.
Yeah, I'm nervous, but somebody's gotta say something. I just don't want to lose my job. Times have changed. It used to be kids got presents they handed down to their kids. Quality was what mattered, not quantity. Things were built to last. Our job was tough, but doable, and we loved it. But now, it seems like presents hit the dump within months. We're breaking our backs out here. The sleigh gets bigger and heavier each year. And it's not just the reindeer. The elves are cracking. Santa needs a longer holiday, and Mrs. Claus is getting cranky.
Wow, so who was that, do you think?
I don't know, but he makes a good point. In days gone by, each town would have had its own way of celebrating the holidays.
And the town markets would offer their own unique foods and crafts, which is part of the fun of local shopping.
As our next story shows, there are still Christmas fairs across the region where you can find that unique something for that unique someone in your life.
2,000 Christmas shoppers descend on the annual Dunbar Community Centre Craft Fair. Here, 140 vendors are selling handmade items of every variety.
My name is Ann Harmer. I dye fiber with mushrooms.
My name is Jamie Cussell. I make items out of recycled candy wrappers.
My name is Veronica Lynch, and I make artwork out of old vintage jewelry.
It's a great community hub where patrons of the community center, but also the neighborhood, can come and celebrate, the holidays together and shop in a sustainable manner.
This one is 25.
I think the idea of celebrating the community is an important factor about this fair, that not only do the patrons and the community members come, but also the vendors all coming together and celebrating the holidays and celebrating their artisanship.
The craft fair is a big fundraiser for the community center. And it's a great way for local residents to do their Christmas shopping close to home. The Dunbar retail strip also attracts locals.
We live about 2 blocks from where we're talking right now, and we often just walk up and shop in the local Dunbar area. We have our favorite stores.
City planners say local shopping is vital to a walkable city.
That's a more environmentally friendly approach, that's a healthier approach, that's a more socially interactive approach, and if you've distributed those shopping opportunities, it can even be a more efficient approach from a time-saving perspective. We're all busy.
Residents who do shop locally get the concept.
It's a wonderful convenience to be able to walk, to shop. It's so much less stress than trying to drive, especially this time of year. It just gets crazy on the roads and parking's an issue, and so it's great to be able to walk.
Rather than get in my car and drive out to IKEA or, huge kitchen places, I'd rather just go to the little local merchant.
I think it's an old concept that we've rediscovered in the last 20 years or so, and we've rediscovered what the old communities really never forgot, which is that complete mixed-use walkable neighborhoods work better from just about every way you can look at it.
And locals couldn't agree more, judging by the number of people out in this neighborhood to check out the shops on a Saturday afternoon.
This holiday season,
this Christmas,
I'm not saying what I'm getting my dad for Christmas.
I'm taking my wife, Valerie, to the opera.
I'm going to be teaching my niece some of the finer points of snowboarding.
I'm giving Grandma square dancing lessons. With me. Yeehaw!
It involves a bridge and a long springy cord.
You can be a green angel too. Find out more at metrovancouver.org.
Welcome back to our special holiday edition of the Sustainable Region.
When I think back to our childhood, it isn't the things I received, but the memories, like our caroling that I cherish.
That was really fun, wasn't it? In our next story, we compare two types of toys, one designed to last for a long time, and the other with a shockingly short lifespan.
It's gift-giving time, and there's a toy car on your favorite little person's wish list. So you hop in your car and drive to the toy store. Inside the toy store, you find the perfect plastic and metal car. It costs $14.99 plus the cost of the fuel to get you there. $14.99 plus $2.30. A grand total of $17.29 will buy you the perfect present. But hang on, below the perfect plastic and metal car on the shelf is a lovely wooden car. It's perfect too, but yikes, it costs $35.99. More than double the price before the price of the fuel to get you there is added. With so many of the same cheaper model, will your favorite little person really love this car as much as the wooden one? When it gets broken, what will happen to it? Will it just get tossed in the landfill like so many other seemingly disposable toys? That car traveled a long way. The petroleum that made the plastic and moved all the materials around came from Iraq, metals from South Africa, packaging from Indonesia. The raw materials all came from wherever it could be purchased cheaply. All those things traveled about 21,100 kilometers to get to the manufacturing plant in China, where all the parts to create the car were produced. But the actual assembly of the toy was done in Mexico. So all the parts to make the car now travel a total of about 28,000 kilometers. The car has only made it as far as Mexico, and it has already traveled a total of nearly 50,000 kilometers. From Mexico, it makes its way to a warehouse in the USA, 1,800 kilometers, and then from there to the store in Canada, 2,500 kilometers, where you pick it up and drive it at least 10 kilometers to your home, 53,510 kilometers. The raw material for this little car, wood harvested from a Canadian forest, traveled 250 kilometers to get to the location for manufacturing and assembly. Then it traveled 50 kilometers during production, then another 50 kilometers to get it to the warehouse, and then on to the store, and finally the 10 kilometers home in your car, 360 kilometers. The final journey these cars will make is the 20 kilometers to their disposal sites, although one will go to the landfill and the other to the compost facility. Our plastic and metal car will have traveled a grand total of 53,530 kilometers. And our made in Canada wooden car? 380 kilometers. Now, the Earth's circumference is 40,008 kilometers. So that means that the metal and plastic car will have traveled the equivalent of 1.31 times around the Earth. And the wooden car will only have traveled the equivalent of less than 1/100th of a trip around the world, 0.01 times around the Earth during its life cycle. That means that the greenhouse gas emissions created in the production of the plastic and metal car are about 1,000 times greater than in the production of the wooden car. So with all this traveling, why is the wooden car so much more expensive? In Canada, our higher wages, labor laws, and environmental standards make things cost more. And while the retail price for the plastic and metal car is low, add in concerns like the impact of greenhouse gases on our planet, and suddenly the cost of the toy rises exponentially. But by supporting local manufacturing, keeping our money in our community, and giving a gift that will last for years, the value of the wooden toy is far greater than the value of the plastic and metal toy. So, when you do the math, which toy really costs more? And which toy really has true value?
Next up, we answer the age-old question, what makes the most sustainable choice for your Christmas tree? Real or plastic?
At this festive time of year, the question often arises, artificial tree or real tree? Which is better? We're busy, so convenience has a huge appeal.
The benefits with artificial trees you might think of come in with the 1R, which is reusability. It's something you can pull out of your garage or crawl space every season and use it over and over again. When you're considering buying a natural tree, most of them are grown here in the Fraser Valley, so very close to us here in Metro Vancouver. The benefits are also that you're supporting the local economy and local tree farms.
And the plastic tree?
If you can actually find a label on your holiday tree, you might find that in most cases they come from China, which is quite far away.
Comparing even a decade's worth of real tree buying trips, the overseas shipping of an artificial tree creates more carbon emissions that contribute to climate change. What about the production phase?
The downsides are that they are made out of petroleum products or plastics, so their carbon emissions come into play during the manufacturing and production phase.
The type of materials and emissions also raise concerns about health. Needles are made of PVC plastic, and some may also contain lead. But the real tree isn't a perfect angel either.
Once we cut the tree down, of course, that's when the emissions kick in as far as releasing carbon into the atmosphere when it biodegrades.
The way your real tree decomposes makes a difference too.
You want to keep organics, which in this case is your Christmas tree, out of the landfill, because when good organics go to the landfill, they don't break down properly and they actually end up creating methane gas versus CO2, which is even a stronger and sort of a worse greenhouse gas that we want to keep out of the atmosphere.
As well, during the dozen or so years between planting and harvesting, the tree farm uses fuel, water, and energy, and may also use pesticides and fertilizers. So, which tree is the better choice for the environment? If you use plastic, you'll have to use it a long time.
About 20 years is how long you'd have to use that artificial tree to outweigh buying a natural one.
On balance, the best choice you can make for the environment is a locally grown tree that is properly composted.
Welcome back to the Sustainable Region Christmas Edition. Every Christmas, retailers across the region stock up on the latest and greatest products. But what happens to the stuff they don't sell?
Coming up, a look at the bargains to be found if you're okay with being out of date.
But first, we're going to the waste transfer station to see what ends up there post-Christmas.
Ah, the holiday season. Presents wrapped in festive paper with bows and tags. Packages containing the latest Christmas toys for the young, the old, and everyone in between. But what happens after that frenzy of consumerism is over? Workers at Metro Vancouver's transfer stations know the answer, and it isn't pretty.
We see a lot of packaging, a lot of wrapping paper, and a lot of materials that are obviously left over from Christmas and from other holidays at this time of the year.
Wrapping paper is a problem.
Wrapping paper is not recyclable. Much of it's very waxy. We also get a lot of ribbons.
Consumers can buy high-end recyclable paper, but
People are under so much stress around the holidays with other things going on that recycling is not necessarily at the forefront of their mind. They're thinking about their social engagements, they're thinking going through their list mentally, and recycling falls off the bottom of that.
Christmas trees are recyclable, but they don't always arrive at the transfer station in a compostable state.
We've seen Christmas trees that come in with all the lights on them, all the tinsel still on them, all the decorations still on them, and they're obviously not compostable in that form. Also, with the increased use of spray-on snow, which is also not compostable, the trees have to be disposed of.
Another holiday phenomenon is people replacing substantial household items as a gift to themselves. Those items can be donated to the Salvation Army right at the Coquitlam transfer station in a successful pilot project now in its second year.
This year we're up to about 40,000 kilos that has been collected. Last year was about 29,000. So obviously the public is buying into the program.
For now, the Salvation Army drop-off is only available in Coquitlam.
It would be wonderful to be able to expand it based on the fact that we're doing so well at this particular facility. We would expect that the same response would come from the other 3 areas as well.
As for the rest of the stuff that ends up at the transfer station and eventually in the landfill, the message is one of mindful consumerism.
Think about your behavior at Christmas time, to think about the purchasing decisions, what it is that you're bringing into your household around that time, and what you're giving to people. Don't give them garbage, give them something that they can enjoy.
What happens to unsold goods after December 25th? Boxing Day shopping has become an institution, and it goes on for days afterwards. But inevitably, some of this year's must-have clothing, the latest toys advertised on TV, state-of-the-art electronics, and small appliances for every kitchen task simply don't sell. So what happens to them? The answer is complex. Unsold, non-perishable foods are often donated to local food banks. When it comes to clothing, retailers have been under fire for shredding brand new clothes and sending them to rag companies or even the landfill, rather than giving them to people who need them. If a retailer has warehouse space and the goods aren't something that will go out of fashion, unsold items can be stored until next year. Some retailers take it one step further, practicing what's called just-in-time inventory control, which means having the right amount of goods on hand and no more. Under this system, excess inventory is regarded as waste.
The ability to buy what you need, so you have the minimum amount of inventory on hand, has become a much more precise science. It really puts in the buyer's hands the ability to somewhat predict demand of different products.
Manufacturers who produce too much and retailers who stock too much have given rise to a whole new industry, the business of reselling.
It's that time of year, isn't it?
At stores like the North Shore Sports Swap, you'd expect to find used items on consignment. But look around and there's plenty of brand new merchandise at bargain prices. Store owner Cindy Meyer explains how it works.
For the upper end retailers, the ones who are selling this year's models of everything, to have last year's graphics just doesn't work for them. So that's where we actually take that opportunity to get direct from the manufacturers last year's or the year before's inventory that they might have left over. And we pick up some really good deals in that way.
So some retailers are taking advantage of overstocking, while others are trying to avoid it. But ultimately, whose responsibility is it to ensure that manufacturers don't continue to crank out goods that don't last and we don't need?
I think in this one there's enough responsibility to go around for everyone. I think if consumers spoke up, which means not purchasing things, the manufacturers would change pretty quickly. But then on the other hand, I think the manufacturers and the multinationals need to step up and say, hey, we realize that there's an issue here. And it's just not healthy for us as consumers, it's not healthy for our kids, it's not healthy for our environment. And we just really have to step back and look at it and think about doing things differently.
And now another Christmas icon has their say.
Dickens was a slanderous hack. I tell people no more coal because of its contribution to global climate change, and suddenly I'm a cheapskate. I ask my ne'er-do-well nephew to scale back his exorbitant dinner, half of which will no doubt wind up in the trash, and I'm called a skinflint. A skinflint? Humbug! One time I merely suggested that maybe Tiny Tim doesn't need another stocking full of short-lived holiday trinkets. Take the poor boy out skating or something. Not skating, obviously, but you get my meaning. The holidays should be about cherished memories, not gizmos and whiz-nots.
Welcome back to the Sustainable Region.
Food is central to most holiday traditions, and preserves have long been a favorite holiday gift at Christmas time.
Coming up, we look at the connection between the art of preserving and the goal of creating sustainable food systems.
But first, a behind-the-scenes look at Metro Vancouver's Create Memories, Not Garbage transit ads.
This holiday season, I'm going to be teaching my niece some of the finer points of snowboarding.
Meaner and madder.
Same thing.
Take one. Tell me about your favorite Christmas memory.
On this November night, below the iconic Woodward's marker, a gathering is taking place in the building atrium. It's unheated and chilly here, but the people are warming their hearts and minds with food.
How's that?
So with these seeds we'll sow a new beginning.
This event is being held by Slow Food Vancouver, a group that aims to enhance regional food systems and traditional cuisine. The theme is Joy of Preserving.
Terra Madre, the Joy of Preserving, is mainly bringing awareness to people and connecting people again with your roots, with the culture and heritage that is so vast in Vancouver. We basically have local farmers showcasing what they do.
Sort of a secret source.
Each table features a chef and his or her masterpiece, paired alongside the food producer that supplied one of the ingredients.
Today, for you, chef has prepared a fantastic terrina of wild boar.
The event's timing just before the holiday season is no accident. Both visitors and presenters are thinking about the purchasing power of food during the holidays.
Thanks very much. Yeah, enjoy it.
It's no small matter. Canadians spent $3.9 billion on food and drinks at major retailers in the 1 month of December 2009. That's up 12% from average monthly sales through the rest of the year, and up 19% from November, according to Statistics Canada. A strong food system relies on local and imported foods, but preserving and processing can extend the availability of local foods beyond the growing season.
Baking's a great way to integrate a lot of these local food or dried fruits, a lot of dried cherries. I've just recently used in a lot of my Christmas baking, cranberries.
Of all farm sales in British Columbia, about 60% come from Metro Vancouver and the Fraser Valley.
We're really fortunate that we can access these foods that have been grown really closely to us.
Purchasing local food keeps dollars and jobs in the region and helps protect Metro Vancouver's prime agricultural land.
Foods that we normally eat, like turkey and cranberries and Brussels sprouts and squash and all those things, are foods that we incorporate in our Christmas meals because they're foods that we've grown here close to home for years and years, so they have that traditional value to them.
Back at Terra Madre Day, performers and speakers are helping warm up the atrium. Funds raised here will be invested in education for local farmers, a priority that has been flagged in the Metro Vancouver Regional Food System Strategy. Farmers aren't the only ones gaining knowledge. In session rooms nearby, urbanites are learning age-old food preservation techniques, such as making sauerkraut.
You will learn to make something, and also you can give that as a present to your family or your loved ones. And we also have demonstrations around different ways of preserve the earth in terms of producing the least amount of waste.
Food scraps and food-soiled paper make up 50% of most household garbage.
Anytime you're looking to buy potatoes or squash or anything that you would normally consume in a Christmas meal, just remember that those things have traditionally been grown very close to home, and so we can access them directly from farmers.
Well, that's our show for today. We hope you've enjoyed it. We would love to hear from you. You can reach us by phone at 604-436-6794 or email us at sustainableregion@metrovancouver.org. Happy holidays to all, and to all a good night.